just want to make sure.
Bring them all.
Are they right back there?
You guys all set? Good? Okay, the chief is going to make a brief statement, and then the district attorney will make a brief statement, and then we'll take any questions after that. Chief?
Good afternoon, everyone. I apologize for the delay. We wanted to get the most accurate and up-to-date information out to you as soon as we could. I have a brief statement here, then I'll turn it over to the district attorney for further comment. On Wednesday, May 16, 2018, at approximately 1:42 p.m., the investigation team was advised by staff at Upstate Golisano Children's Hospital that the three-year-old victim, who has now been identified as Pantaganos Stefanidis Pacino, was pronounced deceased. The cause of death will be confirmed by an autopsy performed by the Onondaga County Medical Examiner's Office in the very near future. The child's biological father did arrive at the hospital prior to final life decisions.
Seneca County Grand Jury heard this case this morning. They voted indictment. The indictment was filed a few minutes ago, which made it a public document. Grand jury returned a 12-count indictment against both defendants. 3 counts of murder in the second degree, 2 counts of manslaughter in the first degree, 1 count of manslaughter in the second degree, 1 count of reckless assault on a child, which is a Class D felony, 2 counts of assault in the second degree, which are both Class D felonies, criminal possession of a weapon in the 4th degree, and 2 counts of endangering the welfare of a child.
You take any questions?
Gary, could you kind of just walk us through a little bit where the 3 counts of murder and some of those multiple counts come from?
Yes, the first count of murder is based on, that's basically called intentional murder. The second count is basically called depraved indifference murder. The third count is similar. It's also depraved indifference murder, but it pertains to the defendant being over the age of 18 and the victim being less than 11 years old. Now, the 2 counts of manslaughter, the first count of manslaughter, it's based on the intent to cause serious physical injury which resulted in the death of another person. The second count of manslaughter in the first degree, that's based on age of the defendant being over 18 and the victim being less than 11 years old. And basically that alleges the defendants engaged in reckless conduct that created a grave risk of serious physical injury and thereby caused the death of such person. The manslaughter in the second degree, that basically alleges that the defendants recklessly caused the death of another person. Reckless assault of a child, that alleges that the defendants, being 18 years of age or more, recklessly caused serious physical injury to the brain of a child less than 5 years old, or by slamming or throwing the child so as to impact the child's head on a hard surface or object. 2 counts of assault in the second degree. The first count is based on causing physical injury by means of a dangerous instrument. The indictment alleges about being a dangerous instrument. The second count of assault in the second degree, again, that's based on age. It's based on the defendants being more than 18 years old, the victim being less than 11 years old, and defendants recklessly causing serious physical injury to the child. The criminal possession of a weapon in the 4th degree, that alleges a dangerous instrument. In this case, it alleges a belt was used as a dangerous instrument. And the last 2 counts, endangering the welfare of a child, That's just based on the defendant's conduct in April and May of 2018 towards the child.
What is the allegation in this case? Tell us what you're alleging happened.
Well, we're alleging the defendants killed the child.
How?
You said the first count of murder was with intent. How do you know they meant to do this?
Well, intent is proved by, it can be proved by the circumstances of the event. The grand jury heard the evidence today. They voted to indict on that count. I'm not at liberty to disclose the evidence that they heard.
Can you say if it was statements made to police or?
I'll let the chief answer that question.
What was the question, please?
Was there any statements made to police in regards to their intent to hurt the boy?
We're not going to comment on that at this point.
Do they have a history with hurting this little boy in the past?
We're not going to comment on that at this point.
Well, the district attorney just said incidents from April and May, so it wasn't just this incident, correct?
Well, the majority of the counts allege that the crimes occurred on May 12, 2018. That's all of the murder and the manslaughter counts. Those last two counts that are based on endangering, basically not treating the child right, that's based on a 2-month period.
Was CPS ever involved?
Not with us. They didn't work with us on this case. This was a criminal investigation. They may have had their own separate CPS case.
We know Donald Bovio called 911 initially saying that the child had fallen down a flight of stairs. Did anyone else from that apartment complex ever call 911 to report anything that they heard before that?
Going on in the Bovio apartment?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Barry, can you explain a little bit more of the mother's connection here? Said, at least in the court papers the other day, she acted in concert with Donald. Does that mean she was a bystander, or did she participate in this, this situation?
They're both indicted under, the indictment alleges both of them that they were acting either personally or acting in concert with each other. And acting in concert basically accomplices liability. Being a mere bystander, you can't be criminally liable for that. So there had to be some type of participation in those crimes for her to be indicted.
And they hadn't been living here that long, just a couple of months maybe.
Less than 2 months.
Do you wish that someone had called 911 before that?
Of course. Yeah.
I'm sorry, you were interrupted as you were describing this scenario earlier this week. What you're alleging happened on that particular day that sent this child to the hospital.
Is that question to me or the chief?
Yes, you were describing the allegations, and I think you were interrupted in the middle of doing that.
Somebody asked me, was it about the dates? The homicide counts, the murder and the manslaughter counts, the date in the indictment is May 12, 2018. That's when those crimes allegedly occurred. The last two counts involving the endangering, the indictment alleges April and May of 2018, and the assault in the second degree would based dangerous instrument, meaning the belt. The indictment alleges that occurred between April 4th, 2018 and May 12th, 2018.
We can prove that there was other injuries to that child prior to the date of the initial call based on the child's injuries. The child had substantial injuries throughout his entire body that were consistent with abuse for quite some time.
How vital is it for people who might be watching this, who might have heard, wherever they are, some type of any noise that they might think something's not right? How vital is it that they pick up the phone even if they have the slightest inkling something could be wrong?
It's obviously extremely vital. In this case, it could have saved the little boy's life.
Barry, can you try to explain what it's going to be like for you personally to prosecute a case like this? I'm not sure the extent of all the cases you've had throughout your career, but something of this nature, what that might be like for you and the people in your office.
Won't be a problem. I've prosecuted other murder cases, successful in every one of them, prosecuted manslaughter cases. prosecuted 3 judges now. This won't be any different in those cases.
No different, despite the fact that we're talking about a 3-year-old child?
Well, emotionally, yes, it's difficult. It was a difficult case in front of the grand jury. I mean, I was in on this investigation with the police. I think we had up to 20 police officers involved in this case. And I tell you, there's a lot of tears over the last, since Monday. We spent, we were up past midnight every night, and it was a tough case for a lot of us.
Do you mind just saying the child's name just for us so we can have that on the record too and spelling it for us?
I will try. It's in a press release that is being handed out as well. It's Pentecotus Stephanitis Ficino. They called him Peter.
Can you spell it? I'm just getting
Pentecotus. P-A-N-A-G-I-O-T-I-S. Stephanitis. S-T-E-P-H-A-N-I-D-E-S. Ficino. V-A-C-C-H-I-N-O.
Can you talk about the...
Of what these two are looking at jail time wise, rough idea, should they be found guilty on every single count here, what we could potentially be looking at?
Well, the sentences on all the manslaughter and murder counts, they'd have to run concurrent. So even if they got a conviction on each, to be a concurrent sentence. The maximum for a class A1 felony, which is the murder second, is 25 years to life. The minimum is 15 to life.
I understand Donald has a history, criminal history. Can you comment on that?
I don't have all of his prior, but he has a violent tendency, criminal history in his past.
Any violence against children in his past?
Assault?
There's numerous assaults and batteries out of Massachusetts area. I did not see any, I do not recall any charges against children in this past, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
When you say Peter had evidence of other injuries prior to his death, you're talking broken bones, contusions?
Bruising throughout his entire body that was consistent with occurring prior to the incident that caused his death. So as we arrived on scene, we noticed initially that there was, his body had been covered in bruising that would not be consistent with a fall down the stairs that just occurred. So that was our first initial report with officers on scene. So we knew it was suspicious from the get-go.
There was bruising in different stages of healing, which makes it prior events also.
I'm not sure if any of you had to make that phone call to the father or be with the father at the hospital, shed any light into how that must have been.
It was one of the investigators handling the case. I did speak with him this morning about that. Obviously the father is very upset and angered at the same time, and saddened about this entire incident. Definitely wants justice done for his son.
Do you think this will encourage other people to come forward and report something? Maybe if they think it's small, but it could be something, even half as bad as this.
I would hope so.
How long was the little boy on life support?
He was on life support from Sunday to yesterday, the day's death. Time and date of death.
Court documents say that the parents hit the boy several times with a belt, intentionally causing his head to hit the floor. Is that correct? Is that the allegation that you're going on still?
Well, that may have been in the felony complaint. The indictment was filed today. I have to stand by the four corners of this indictment. That's not necessarily, those facts aren't alleged in the indictment, and I really can't disclose what the grand jury heard today. But the felony complaints have been superseded by this indictment.
So you're saying don't use that? That's not correct.
I'm not saying it's not correct, but the indictment takes precedent over that felony complaint now.
Well, that's why I was asking you earlier to clarify what the allegation is exactly against this couple.
It's more than just that now.
Okay, so what is it? What exactly is the allegation?
Well, we have 12 counts, and it's more than just what you just read. That was assault in the first degree. This doesn't even allege that count in this indictment.
But there was an incident, correct, that happened on May the 12th?
That's correct.
So that's what I'm asking. What happened?
I'm not going to comment on the actual details of May 12th. The chief is free to comment on it if he wishes.
I don't feel it's wise to comment on that at this point.
Chief, I know that when we were talking yesterday, you told me you're a parent of younger children. I don't know if the rest of you are, but we're sitting here, we can't change what happened to someone's small child. I mean, tell me how, you said this was one of the worst cases you've ever seen of abuse. So just talk about this as a parent.
Well, as a parent, and many of us with parents and our first responders that showed up at the scene that night, we all have kids. Whether they're 3 years old or 23 years old, we all look at our children in that time frame, which makes it difficult to work these cases.
Is there a part of you that's frustrated because, we can't change what happened here, but this should never be what happens?
Frustration, sadness, anger, it's all running through all of us.
Any other witnesses come forward about the history with this child being abused or anything like that? Like, who else have you been talking to?
So we've canvassed the entire complex numerous times, trying to cover all bases. We're also continually working with Massachusetts law enforcement to try to track down any leads that they have or police contacts that they've had. It's going to be an ongoing investigation for quite some time.
What brought police out initially this week? Was there something that brought police this week
To
this home? What?
To the initial call,
Yes.
there was a report of a unresponsive male by the stepfather.
Can
Do
you
you
just
have any idea
clarify?
when they might be in court next, what the next step is in the process?
We originally scheduled for a preliminary hearing right here in this courtroom tomorrow morning at 9. However, since the grand jury has voted, indictment has been filed, county court now has jurisdiction. The jurisdiction is taken away from the town court. The court will be sending me and the defense attorneys a notice any day now on when their arraignment will be in county court. I don't have that date today. I just filed the indictment. It'll take them a day to let us know the next date.
Just because you guys said he was on life support until yesterday, but the release says you were notified this afternoon, so could you just clarify?
Sorry, what was the question?
If we could clarify a time and when he was pronounced deceased, just because the press release says today.
So he was pronounced deceased at May 16th, yesterday, at 1:42 p.m.
The 911 call came in around 11:41 p.m. That night. Do you believe that the child had been injured significantly before that? Was there any delay in calling 911?
I'm not going to speculate on that. I know there's more facts to be developed. And, I wouldn't want to give out speculation.
Have the defendants been cooperative?
To a point.
Did the biological father share any photos with you of Peter or anything that we might be able to get?
He had photos on his phone that he shared with us. We are not releasing them.
Were there any other children? Did either one of them eat any other children? I know there weren't any other in the home that night, but were there any other with the biological father or other relationships?
I'm uncertain on that right now.
No other kids in the apartment.
Right.
Last question. One more.
And I know you said that you hadn't worked with CPS on this investigation, but do you know when the last contact that Child Protective might have had with the family was? And
So the only involvement our Child Protective has had in this incident is working with law enforcement during the investigation. So there was no prior to Saturday night's incident contact with New York criminal Child Protective Services. There was other involvements with Child Protective Services in Massachusetts.
Do you know when the last time they had contact with them in Massachusetts was?
I do not.
It's a hyphenated last, is that a hyphenated last name?
It is.
Okay, so it's both. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Chief.